to good friends, the ones we hold dear, the ones who will tell us what we need to hear, the ones who love us, right or wrong, and to all those good friends that give you this song.
Well, hello, good friends, and welcome back to The Last Walk, Remember When, with your host, Ron Baumbach. And today, we're going back in time again to 1964-65. Fun times, crazy times, weird times, and a special time in my life. So, get up off your easy chair, walk over to your fridge, reach in way in the back, get out that orange crush you've been saving for a special day. This is it. Open it up, pour it into that tall glass, fill with some ice cubes first, sizzle so it fizzles. Reach up into your cupboard, take out a nice Drake's cake. Sit down, back in your easy chair, turn on that lava lamp, close your eyes, get ready, it's storytelling time. The Last Walk is back.
Here's to good friends, the ones we hold dear, the ones who will tell us what we need to hear, the ones who love us, right or wrong, and to all those good friends that give you this song.
The year was 1964. The country was going nuts, a lot of things going on, and I was in my own world. This is part 2 of a multi-part series of my wonderful back and how I spent my time in the hospital and in bed during that time. How that helps me right now with COVID-19, because it built me into who I am today, learned to make lemonade out of lemons. And I have my better half, my bride, with me, which I didn't have back then. And back in the day then, we were all singing in songs. In December of 1964, one of the top hits was the Zombies, She's Not There. And I wish my wife was there back then with me.
Well, no one told me about her, the way she lied. Well, no one told me about her, how many people cried. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she had tan, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there. Well, no one told me about her. What could I do? Well, no one told me about her, though they all knew. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she had tan, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there. Say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she had tan, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there.
So, friends, we're back. And last week I shared about Robert Hall and that salesman who helped me get on the track for my back to safety and security and fixing the way I stood and fixing me to a healthier life in the future. That was way back in 64. And I led you midway. When we left, I got a call from the doctor, my parents did, to go to St. Charles Hospital, the special scoliosis clinic out in Port Jefferson, Long Island, New York. So now, as I recall, our first visit to the clinic was somewhat confusing and a bit dreadful. It was 55 miles from home. My mom and dad and myself took the long ride out. I had no idea what to expect. All I knew was I felt good. I had no reason to go to a hospital, a clinic. I did not need to be here at all. Leave me home, let me stay in school. But Mom and Dad persisted. I had to go and keep them happy. So, our first visit was to a beautiful campus site. We saw a chapel, went inside, we went, say, to prayer, went to the outside grounds, the coffee shop, etc. It was really, really nice, but I still didn't get it. Why was I here? What was happening? What's going on? I refused to accept the fact that I could possibly be sick. I felt great. I recalled our being brought into a hallway, which was lined with nervous boys and girls and their parents, all lined up both sides of the hallway, all sitting there with moms and dads. Someone called my name, and I was led into a small room by a nurse who gave me a blue hospital gown. She told me I needed to strip down with nothing on and put this thing on. I had no idea where the open flap was supposed to be. Does it go in the front or the back? I was embarrassed as hell. So basically I wrapped the entire darn thing around me, not realizing all the other kids were going through the exact same anguish. Everyone was nervous and felt embarrassed wearing this blasted blue apron robe. I went back to the hallway and sat with my mom and dad. A little bit breezier than when I left, if you know what I mean. We waited as one by one they would bring the other children into their individual meetings with some mysterious people who I had no idea who they were. My name was finally called. I was brought alone. My parents were outside. I was brought alone to the examining room, whereupon I faced about 5 doctors and nurses who had all my x-rays on the walls, on some fancy high-floating thing where they had my pictures on the wall and they would light them up and my x-rays were all there for them to see. I was sweating profusely. It was coming off me like unbelievable. I finally felt like something's wrong. I could feel the droplets and I was really embarrassed. They had me do all sorts of bending and stretching and reaching and measuring, etc., etc. They asked me if I had pain. I said not really, except for some minor pain in the small of my back occasionally, which to me was no big deal. I got used to it. They let me go back to my parents and asked us to wait for a while so they could talk. And they talked. And they talked. Alone. Mom and I were all called back in a short time after. We were advised I had needed to have something called spinal fusion surgery, and it had to be done very soon. Within weeks, they said. Within weeks. Needless to say, I was not a happy camper. I refused. I wasn't sick. I was 14, 15 years old. I felt great and wanted to go home, back to my friends, back to school, and play with the kids in my block and play with the kids in my class. An operation? Are you kidding me? I had no desire to get involved in this thing at all, and emphatically told everyone there in the room my intentions or lack thereof. I told the doctors, the nurses, my mom and dad, and I blew my cool. I was livid. I carried on for what seemed like a really long time. For whatever reason, they let me vent. As I'm screaming and going crazy, there was not a word in the room. No one said, calm down, take it easy. They let me go on and on and on. Finally, one of the doctors, Dr. Larry, I called him, Dr. Lawrence. He asked me if the two of us could go for a walk together alone. Now, Dr. Lawrence was a tough-looking man, forceful, no bull about this guy, sort of like a John Wayne in Scrubs. You didn't want to say no to him. He was a really strong-looking type individual. Tough man. I agreed, or at least I think I agreed. to go to the walk with this gentleman. And the two of us went for what I thought would be a little chat outside the hallway. It wasn't a chat. We walked out the door, made a right turn, and went to another hallway, down past a few doors, till we opened one of them on the left. There in front of me was a room full of oddly shaped people, men and women, whose bodies were twisted in all sorts of sad, strange ways. It was devastatingly incredible. They were like human pretzels. It was one of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life. These poor, poor people, all in these sad shapes. Dr. Lawrence looked at me, and he simply said, "Ron, do you see these people? They all had issues like you, but unfortunately they didn't take care of them, and now we cannot correct them. However, we can fix you. And one more thing, which I never forgot. Just so you know, if you don't get operated on, besides the fact you will certainly look like them someday, the real problem for you, Ron, it will only be for a short time. Because if we don't operate on you, you will not live past the age of 23. I was in shock. I looked at Dr. Lawrence, looked again at these really sad people, and I turned to him and said, "When do we operate?"
Life is too short, we get only one turn. With luck we find beauty, but we sometimes get burned. But if you've had a true friend, or perhaps in love, you've experienced the peace of heaven above.
So we drove home. Now, during the course of the next few weeks, Mom and Dad downplayed the seriousness of the situation. They didn't go into it. I didn't go into it. I never asked what kind of operation I was going to have. I never asked what the recuperation period was. I had only been in the hospital once before, when I was about 5 years old, to remove my tonsils. And even then, it was great. I was given tons and tons of ice cream as a reward. So I looked upon that as a great deal. So I basically went about my business, told my friends I may be out of school for a short time, for a minor operation, no big deal. I had no clue as to what would occur in the future, what my new life would be like. I simply thought I'll go in there for a minor surgery and I'll be fixed and I won't be like those people I saw in that room. Now looking back, Mom and Dad knew me really well, obviously. This was indeed the best thing for me, as I never ever worried about what was to happen. I never knew about it. I never asked questions. They never filled me in. I was left in the dark, and that was the best thing for me back then. I'm sure we would have freaked out if I knew what would be. Now, from second grade to the beginning of sophomore year of high school, I had not missed one single day of school. Every year, I received a perfect attendance award, and I strived to keep that thing going. But I now knew that would soon be over. My streak, my Lou Gehrig streak, I wanted to be the Lou Gehrig of grammar school, high school, and college. But now I knew it would end. I would not return to school again until my junior year in high school, and it was only December. This was my biggest disappointment. It wasn't a surgery, it wasn't sports, it was not the fact my streak would end.
Fee, fee, fi, fi, fo, fo, fum. I smell smoke in the auditorium. Charlie Brown.
Do you ever get certain songs that when you hear them, they bring back memories? When I hear that song, I bring back memories of December 2nd, 1964, the morning. My mom, my dad, my brother Dick drove me to St. Charles Hospital to admit me. That song was on the radio playing in the background. I remember that car ride very well. I kept hearing that song over and over again as we drove. For some reason, it only played one time, but that's all I remembered, playing on and on and on. Charlie Brown, walking in the classroom, which I won't be walking into anymore. It's cool and slow. Who played the English? Teacher Daddy-O, Charlie Brown. Now, when Mom and Dad did all the paperwork in the hospital, my brother Dick did something really much better. You know what he did? He flirted with the nurses. He wasn't married back then. He was a young stud, so to speak. So much that they all decided to like me, and they kept asking me about my older brother. Now, while I had many dedicated nurses care for me throughout my time there, It was one particular nurse, Joy, who was my trusted ally.